Welcome! Do you want to learn English in a fun and easy way? In this video, we teach English using narrated, animated stories. Here is how it works. On the left, watch the beautiful animations. They are designed to help you understand and enjoy the story. On the right, you can read along as you listen to the narrator. When we reach a difficult word, don't worry. A box will appear at the bottom with a simple definition and an example to help you learn. Let's get started.
The moment of truth had arrived. Humanity's furthest and most dangerous voyage into deep space was about to end. The Artemis II spacecraft, named Integrity, was speeding towards Earth. For 10 challenging days, it had traveled 252,756 miles from our home planet, a distance no human had ever reached before. Now, after breaking records and facing the harsh void of space, the 4 brave astronauts inside were ready for their most critical test. The world watched, holding its breath. Their path led to a fiery plunge. The small, fragile capsule had to hit Earth's atmosphere at an unbelievable speed, 35 times faster than the speed of sound. This meant intense heat, creating a bright plasma around the craft, making it glow like a star falling from the sky. This part of the journey was incredibly risky. A single miscalculation in their flight path or a failure of the special heat shield would spell instant disaster for the crew. Commander Reed Wiseman, pilot Victor Glover, and mission specialists Christina Koch and Jeremy Hansen were trapped in their seats, relying completely on the advanced technology and perfect engineering to bring them home safe. Every second was a test of courage and precision as the fragile capsule endured its fiery ordeal. This return was more than just the end of a trip. It was a powerful statement for all of humanity. It marked a triumphant, yet incredibly perilous moment.
For over 5 decades, since Apollo 17 left the lunar surface in 1972, no human had ventured this far into space. The Artemis II mission was the world's return to the moon after 50 years of waiting. It aimed to prove that long-duration deep space travel was safe for humans and that we are ready to go back to the moon, not just for a visit, but to build a future there. The successful splashdown of Integrity in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of San Diego, California, on April 10, 2026, was not an ending, it was a new beginning, showing that humanity's dream of exploring and living beyond Earth was becoming a reality. It was a promise that the next steps, a return to the lunar surface, and eventually journeys to Mars, were truly within reach, inspiring generations to come. A new trip to space. A new and exciting journey was about to begin. On April 1, 2026, the Artemis II mission launched. It was a 10-day trip that would fly around the moon. This was the first time people had gone past Earth's close orbit in over 50 years, since Apollo 17 in 1972. This mission aimed to set a new record for human travel in space, pushing the boundaries of exploration. Many people watched, feeling great hope as this historic moment unfolded. The rocket for this mission was called the Space Launch System, or SLS.
It was truly enormous, the biggest rocket ever built. The SLS rocket stood taller than the Statue of Liberty in New York. It produced more power and thrust than any other operational rocket before it. This giant machine was the only one strong enough to send the Orion spacecraft, its crew, and supplies all the way to the moon in one go, a single powerful launch. Artemis 2 was not meant for a moon landing. Instead, it was a very important test flight. It was a dress rehearsal for later missions that would eventually place humans on the lunar surface. Before NASA could dare to put boots on the moon again, they needed to prove that the Orion spacecraft could carry a crew all the way to the moon and back. They had to ensure its systems functioned reliably in the brutal environment of deep space. The Orion spacecraft is the main vehicle that carries the crew and keeps them safe during their long trips to the moon and back to Earth. The launch from Kennedy Space Center's Launch Pad 39B was a powerful and unforgettable sight. The huge rocket roared into the sky from the same complex where Apollo missions departed many years ago. This mission carried not just 4 people, but the aspirations of a whole new generation who had grown up hearing stories of Apollo and wondering when humanity would venture that far again, after a half-century of waiting. While the launch date was April Fool's Day, the mission was extremely serious. This was not a joke.
It was years in the making, debated by engineers and leaders alike. Engineers and scientists had worked hard to prepare it. They knew the dangers were real. The Orion spacecraft was new and had not carried people into deep space before. Everyone wondered what hidden problems might lurk inside the untested vessel once it left Earth's orbit, facing the unknown challenges of space. What if something failed far from Earth when the crew was millions of miles away? Meet the brave crew. The Artemis 2 mission needed brave and skilled people. 4 special astronauts were chosen for this important trip into deep space. They were Commander Reed Wiseman, Pilot Victor Glover, Mission Specialist Christina Koch, and Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen. Each person on this team had a unique background and special skills. Reed Wiseman was the mission commander. He was a Navy pilot from Baltimore, USA. From a young age, Reed loved building model rockets. His personal story held deep sadness. In 2020, his wife, Carol Taylor Wiseman, passed away from cancer. This made his trip very personal. Reed also became the oldest person to travel farther from Earth than anyone before, going close to the moon. Victor Glover took the role of pilot. He was an expert test pilot and engineer. Victor had already flown in space once before, in 2020. He also spent time on the International Space Station, helping with science work and walking in space.
Victor made history as the first person of color to travel beyond low Earth orbit and near the moon. His experience was important. Christina Koch was a mission specialist. She had a remarkable record in space. Christina holds the record for the longest single spaceflight by a woman, staying in space for 328 days. She also made history as part of the first spacewalk done only by women. Christina became the first woman to travel beyond low Earth orbit and go close to the moon. She is one of the most experienced astronauts alive. Then there was Jeremy Hansen, the astronaut from Canada. He was a skilled fighter pilot. For years, Jeremy talked to astronauts from Mission Control, but Artemis 2 was his first time to actually fly in space. This made him the rookie of the crew. Jeremy was also the first non-US citizen to travel so far from Earth. Many things would be new for him: his first time in zero gravity and seeing Earth from deep space. People wondered how this newcomer would manage the strong feelings and physical changes of zero gravity alongside his experienced crewmates. Together, These 4 astronauts formed a diverse and powerful team. They were not just skilled professionals, but also symbols of a new era of space exploration. This era promised to be broader, more inclusive, and more international. They were ready to face the challenges ahead, pushing the boundaries of human travel and inspiring many. 4. Flying far from home. The Artemis II crew began their journey far from Earth, a true trip into deep space. Their spacecraft, Orion, was like a flying laboratory. The astronauts had many important tasks to complete. They needed to test Orion's systems very carefully to make sure they worked well in the difficult environment of deep space. This was not just a ride, it was a test flight for humanity's return to the moon. On the 4th day of their flight, 2 astronauts, Christina Koch and Jeremy Hansen, performed vital manual flying tests. For 41 minutes, they took turns controlling the spacecraft with their hands. They tested 2 different ways to use the thrusters, which are small engines that move the spacecraft. This gave engineers on Earth important information about how Orion handled. It showed that astronauts could truly fly the craft, not just watch computers do all the work. This hands-on piloting ability would be very important for future missions, especially when spacecraft need to dock with lunar landing systems orbiting the moon. However, space travel is not always glamorous. Even far from home, everyday problems can arise. The brand new toilet on Orion, the first designed for a trip to the moon, quickly had problems. It could not properly dump the waste overboard, so the crew had to improvise. They used special manual urinals multiple times during their journey. NASA said the toilet itself was fine, but the system for moving the waste away was the issue. This experience reminded everyone that even with advanced technology, basic human needs and plumbing challenges are a part of space exploration. Later in their journey, on Flight Day 8, a planned manual control test was suddenly canceled. This change was needed because ground control detected an unexpected issue. They found a small helium leak in the European service module, which is a key part of the Orion spacecraft's propulsion system. This part of Orion helps it move through space. Engineers on Earth quickly worked to understand the problem. They needed to know more about the leak and how it behaved in space. A helium leak in the propulsion system was a serious concern. The propulsion system is crucial for moving the spacecraft and, most importantly, for getting the crew back home safely. Even a small leak could become a bigger problem. The engineers at Mission Control scrambled to gather all the data they could. They wanted to make sure the leak would not affect the spacecraft's ability to return. While it did not immediately compromise mission safety for now, it added a layer of suspense. The crew and the teams on Earth wondered, would this leak grow? Would it make their long journey back to Earth dangerous? This test flight was designed to find such issues, but the stakes were very high for the brave astronauts flying far from home. It was a clear reminder that space travel is always full of challenges. 5. The dark side of the moon. The Artemis II mission reached its most important part. The 4 astronauts went farther from Earth than any human had ever gone before. They flew 252,756 miles away, breaking a record set by Apollo 13 in 1970. This was a great achievement, showing how far humanity could travel into space. Jeremy Hansen, one of the astronauts, sent a message back to Earth. He said they honored past space explorers and hoped this new record would not last long. He wanted future generations to go even farther, pushing the limits of human exploration. The previous record had stood for over 5 decades,
marking how long it had been since humans had ventured so deep into the cosmos. From their spacecraft, the crew saw an amazing sight. The moon moved in front of the sun, making a total solar eclipse for almost 1 hour. This long eclipse was something no person had ever seen. On Earth, these eclipses last only a few minutes. From space, the moon looked big enough to completely hide the sun. The sun's bright outer atmosphere, called the corona, looked like a glowing circle around the dark moon. It was a beautiful and breathtaking moment. Even for these highly trained astronauts, they were truly seeing something unique. There was also a very special moment that touched everyone. The crew found a new crater on the moon during their observations. They decided to name it Carroll.
This was a heartfelt tribute to Commander Reed Wiseman's late wife, Carol Taylor Wiseman, who passed away before the mission. Hansen's voice was a little shaky when he told Mission Control the name. The 4 astronauts hugged, and Wiseman had tears in his eyes, feeling deep emotion so far from home. Now a bright spot on the moon carries her name, a quiet reminder of love that transcends even the vastness of space. This moment showed the human side of space travel. After reaching their furthest point and seeing these incredible sights, the team had to turn for home. This was a critical and dangerous step. They needed to fire the Orion spacecraft's thrusters to adjust their path back to Earth. The physics involved in returning from the moon are extremely precise. A tiny mistake could have huge consequences. If the thrusters did not work correctly, or if the burn was not exact, the spacecraft could get lost. They would drift away into the cold, empty void of space forever, unable to return. Everyone, both in space and on Earth, waited with held breath for this important engine burn to happen. The success of their entire journey and their lives depended on it. The long trip back. The Artemis II spacecraft, Integrity, had finished its incredible journey around the moon. Now it was time to turn for home. This long trip back to Earth was just as hard as going to the moon. The physics involved in returning were very exact and unforgiving.
The spacecraft needed to follow a perfect path back to Earth. If it was even a little wrong, it could miss Earth completely and float away into space. Or it could burn up when it hit the atmosphere too steeply. There was no room for mistakes in this critical phase. During the long return, the crew also worked hard to get their bodies ready for Earth. Living in space for 10 days had changed them. Without gravity, their blood flows differently, and their muscles become weak. Even their inner ear, which helps with balance, adapts. Coming back to Earth meant their bodies had to quickly get used to feeling heavy again. This sudden change could be very disorienting, making astronauts feel dizzy or sick. It was a serious medical challenge. To help, the astronauts tested special clothes called orthostatic intolerance garments. These garments were designed to help keep blood flowing correctly throughout their bodies, especially to their brains. This simple but smart solution was important for their health. It helped their bodies prepare for the strong pull of Earth's gravity after many days of floating. This was a critical part of space medicine. The spacecraft was expected to travel a total of 695,081 miles from launch to splashdown. Each mile of the return journey was carefully watched. On Earth, preparations for their arrival were also in full swing. The USS John P. Murtha, a ship from the U.S. Navy, had already left port. It was sailing towards the planned landing spot in the Pacific Ocean. The recovery teams on board were ready to help the astronauts as soon as they landed, checking equipment and planning every step. However, the most dangerous part of the mission was still ahead. The spacecraft had to enter Earth's atmosphere at exactly the right angle and speed. Too steep, and the intense heat would destroy it. Too shallow, and it would bounce off into space. This part was called re-entry, and it was a moment of high tension for everyone. The whole world watched and waited, knowing that even after such a long journey, success was not guaranteed until integrity was safely in the ocean. The astronauts trusted their spacecraft and the dedicated teams on the ground for this final, risky phase. Their long trip back required not just great distance, but also great precision to bring them home. 7. A scary fall to Earth. The journey home for the Artemis II crew turned into a terrifying race through Earth's atmosphere. This was the most dangerous 13 minutes of their trip. The Orion capsule separated from its service module. It was speeding towards Earth at an incredible 23,800 miles per hour, almost 35 times the speed of sound. This was not a gentle return. It was a brutal test of machine and human courage. As the capsule hit the upper air, intense friction started to build up. This friction created extreme temperatures, reaching about 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. A burning plasma field wrapped around the spacecraft, turning it into a fiery inferno. Inside this fiery shell, the 4 astronauts felt a huge force. It was almost 4 times their normal body weight. This pressure, known as 3.9 Gs, pushed them hard into their seats. They struggled to breathe, their bodies fighting against the sudden crushing weight after days of floating. The most important part of the capsule at this moment was its heat shield. This shield was newly designed and crucial for their survival. It worked by literally burning away, absorbing the enormous heat and protecting the crew. However, there were real worries about it. During the previous uncrewed mission, Artemis I, the heat shield showed some unexpected damage after re-entry. NASA engineers had to make a tough decision. They changed the flight trajectory for Artemis II. The capsule would now go down faster and at a steeper angle. This new path was meant to lessen the time the capsule spent in the hottest parts of the atmosphere. Still, some experts, like former astronaut Charles Camarda, expressed deep concern. They questioned if the shield was truly ready and safe for human lives. As the capsule plunged through the atmosphere, the super-hot plasma around it blocked all radio signals. This caused a grueling 6-minute communications blackout. Down on Earth, in mission control, an agonizing silence filled the room. Engineers and flight directors stared at their screens, completely cut off from the crew. They could not talk to the astronauts. They had no idea if the controversial heat shield was holding, or if the capsule had tragically burned up in the sky. The capsule needed to slow down very quickly from its extreme speed. This rapid deceleration was vital. It went from 23,840 miles per hour to about 325 miles per hour in just 10 to 15 minutes. The silence stretched on, heavy and full of dread for everyone waiting. Had the shield held against the extreme heat and pressure, or had this brave journey, so full of hope, ended in disaster high above the Pacific? The answer remained hidden in the fiery, silent sky for a long 6 minutes. 8. Safe at home. After a scary fall through Earth's atmosphere, the long, quiet minutes finally ended. Mission Control in Houston waited with bated breath. Then a signal returned, bringing a huge sense of relief to everyone watching. High above the Pacific Ocean, large orange and white parachutes opened. They looked like bright flowers against the blue sky as they slowly lowered the Orion spacecraft. The capsule, named Integrity, then hit the water. It splashed down safely at about 20 miles per hour. This sound marked the end of an incredible and risky journey. Immediately, U.S. Navy boats and helicopters moved quickly towards the capsule. This was the start of the recovery operation, carefully planned for years.
Navy divers helped the 4 astronauts exit the capsule. They deployed a large inflatable raft, which the crew called their front porch. The astronauts stepped onto this raft. After 10 days living in space with no gravity, their legs felt very wobbly. It was a strange feeling to be heavy again after so long. They were then lifted by helicopter to the nearby USS John P. Murtha Navy ship. This mission was a massive scientific and engineering success. Integrity had successfully carried humans farther from Earth than any person before. It brought them all home safely, proving that the Orion spacecraft and its systems could work perfectly in the harsh environment of deep space. Engineers collected huge amounts of data. This information will help them make future spacecraft even better and safer. The astronauts also performed many tests and observations, adding to our knowledge of space. Artemis II was not an ending, it was a powerful beginning. It laid the foundation for future human missions. The next big step is Artemis III, which aims to land astronauts on the moon's south pole. This area is important because scientists believe it holds water ice. This ice could be used for drinking water or even rocket fuel. After the moon, the long-term goal is to send humans to Mars. The success of Artemis II makes these dreams seem closer than ever. President Donald Trump spoke with the crew soon after their return. He called them modern-day pioneers for their incredible journey. He noted they had circled the moon for the first time in over half a century and broken the record for the farthest distance from Earth. President Trump also spoke with the Canadian Prime Minister, Mark Carney, recognizing the international effort behind this historic mission. This truly cemented Artemis II's legacy as the start of humanity's permanent presence in the cosmos, inspiring a new generation to look up at the stars.
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.